Hi guys, welcome back to another video, and season 4 of Love is Blind is out. So here I'm going to share my thoughts and analysis on what happened, the various couples, triangles, quadrangles, and I'm going to start with analyzing the Zack, Irina and Bliss situation. So I think the main take-home message here is that if we don't sort out our own insecurities, they could definitely lead us to make bad choices. So if you don't love yourself and you don't think that you deserve the best, then you would actually not choose the best, even if it's staring you in the face. So first of all, some disclaimers. At the moment, they've only released the first 5 episodes, and I'm obviously only analyzing what I've been shown on the show edit. I do not claim to know these people. So first of all, the big question, why the hell did Zack choose Irina over Bliss? Especially when, as an audience, we are somewhat more all-seeing than the cast themselves, and we do see traces of Irina being, let's face it, a bit mean girls vibes, possessive, manipulative, versus, Bliss is way more mature, diplomatic, dignified, and she made him birthday cupcakes. I think in Zack's case, it's very much to do with his own insecurities, his connection and grief over his mom, and his personality type. So Zack is an ISTP. His type naturally leads with logic in decision making, logic being TI, introverted thinking. However, when it comes to relationships, everyone needs to engage with their feeling F function. And in Zack's case, this is his lowest function called the inferior. So Zack has Fe Inferior, extraverted feeling. Our lowest function, our inferior function, is very close to our core. And it's something that we aspire to be great at and we look up to and want to grow up to become. But at the same time, it's very sensitive and very binary in its analysis. And it has a tendency to make rash decisions, especially when we are stressed out. What Fe extroverted feeling is the function that wants to relate to other people. It's getting other people to open up emotionally, open up their value system, and then absorbing and responding to those values. And this function explains a lot about Zack. Firstly, Fe types do not generate their own value systems. They draw it from other people as a reference and then form their own conclusion according to what they've absorbed. The higher the Fe, so Fe dominant types, the bigger the group of people that they can draw these values from. And because they can draw all this data, they can form a more nuanced and a more authentic value system of their own. Versus if you have Fe as a lower function, especially the lowest function, you can only manage to draw values from a smaller circle, a circle of trust. And also, you then tend to adopt these other people's values as they are directly into your own without any modification. So in Zack's case, I feel that his mother is the only person in his life, and having Fe as the lowest function, it means that he's completely adopted his mother and her values as his own identity. It's almost like he is his mother and he values what his mother values, to the point that he introduces himself as a stripper because his mom was a stripper.
I'm a stripper.
Oh my god, ew, I hate that.
I'm a stripper.
Oh, stop it.
Yeah, I'm a criminal defense lawyer.
Oh, wow.
Even though, 1, he himself has never been a stripper, and 2, his mother being a stripper is something of the past, and she's already passed away. So the stripper background is, arguably no longer something relevant if he chooses it not to be relevant. It's almost like he wants to say to people that I'm a stripper because He wants to know whether these women, these potential partners, would accept his mother. And therefore, if they do, it equates to accepting him.
Their family judged me because of how I was raised. And so I want to marry someone who's marrying me because they love who I am.
The other thing I'd like to comment is that he doesn't differentiate that judging whether your potential spouse is a stripper is very different from judging whether your in-law or your spouse's family is a stripper. Rejecting someone because their mother is a stripper is judgmental, but weighing up whether you yourself want to be married to someone who is a stripper or a sex worker, that is a valid consideration for many. He's potentially filtering out people that he doesn't need to filter out. And as a side note, saying something really outrageous just to get a reaction is very ISTP, very Zack's personality type. With Fe Inferior, Fe in the lowest position, it's a very binary function and it wants to relate and connect to people. So it thinks that getting any reaction or attention from anybody is already making a connection. It doesn't naturally know how to gauge what's socially appropriate and the difference between a good and bad reaction, unless it's mega obvious, unless you're kind of obviously being rejected.
Everyone just had such strong opinions about you. And so with you and your crazy stories.
So then with that in mind, that Zack has basically embodied his mother as his own identity and as his value system, despite his current reality of being a successful criminal lawyer, he still identifies more as I am a stripper's son and I am poor. So he feels probably more able to relate to and be accepted by Irina, who is herself an immigrant child and also grew up with a poor background.
I moved here from Russia when I was yeah. I was like 3 or 4, like even though we had like no money, my parents did everything in their power to like give us all the memories.
Rather than being able to relate to Bliss, who I wouldn't say she's rich, but she definitely sounds a little more middle class. She's descended from a family of teachers, and she's also mentioned that her parents have quite high standards in terms of who they think is good enough for her.
My dad, he's not like any of my exes at all. I don't know that my dad will think anyone is ever good enough for me.
Here, in terms of personality types, I've done a video on what I think creates high chemistry versus high compatibility, link above. But Zack and Irina would feel very high chemistry with each other because they are so different in terms of their personality type and the functions they lead with. The high chemistry comes mainly from his little small Fe, being in awe of Irina's big Fi.
I really trust Irina, like on a deep level. And it's crazy because I don't really trust many people, like at all. And trust is really hard for me. With Irina, it's like this woman would have my back at every step of the way.
He would be in awe of her expression of feeling, her passion. But in reality, because his Fe is tiny, he wouldn't be able to really handle and respond to her adequately all the time. Versus with Bliss, they are known as each other's shadows. So if you look here, their functions are completely different. They do not share a single function, but they are completely complementary because the opposite functions are at the same levels. And our shadow is someone who reads us and we read them really quickly. It's someone that you can talk to 24/7 and not get tired. It's someone that you should instantly click with.
Bliss and I have this incredibly deep connection. Fuck, I love her mind. And I think like when the chemistry fades, we'll still be really good friends.
So I agree that based on personality type as well as based on kind of the mean girls vibe that Irina gets portrayed as on the show, that, yeah, Zack has made a very idiotic decision about who he wants to marry. But the main thing that draws him is that what we see as Irina's negative, her viciousness, they call it, is actually what turns Zack on.
You're trying to sabotage my love life?
Me?
Just kidding.
What? Why? You could never.
That me and Zack have like a really great connection, but I'm watching Bliss make a fucking cake for him today. I have a huge favor, and if you want to say no, you can say no.
Okay.
Can I have one of your candles?
What?
I'm not gonna bake anything, but can I have one of your candles?
Okay. I feel like that's just like a little awkward that you asked me that.
What did she get out of asking you for a candle other than making you feel like shit?
Because I'm not trying to be like snaky or like mischievous. It's just different for her. I feel weird that she feels so weird.
Because you are so blunt, but you're real. I just think you're really courageous.
When your feeling function is your lowest function, so there's 4 types, they tend to go with whoever shouts the loudest, whoever's most outwardly and loudly passionate about them. And Zack recognizes that in Irina. When she loves someone, she becomes very possessive and even vengeful and vicious.
Multiple girls dating the same guy, I'll come for your neck.
And he sees that as a measure of how much she loves. And when she loves him, she would almost kill for him. And that level of passion directed towards him is a big, big turn on for people with very low feeling function.
Irina, she's a little immature, and she plays like games, you know, like girl games to try to win a man. I don't think you're vicious. I think that if someone hurts you, or you feel like someone has hurt someone you care about, you will hurt them back. I understand that. I know that you have this deep heart. When I talk to you, I know that you love me.
And I would argue that subconsciously, Irina probably reminds him of his mother, who might be of a similar personality type as her. And this is because when he explains in the end why he chooses Irina, the essence, what he's describing is that she gives him unconditional love. With no real basis, if we're talking about Irina.
I chose Irina because she's the one I trust the most. I know that you would never give up on me, no matter how bad things got.
And the only unconditional love he's ever experienced is from his mother. So you can then see he's probably projecting his mother onto Irina. He's basically chosen Irina because he's subconsciously choosing his mother versus choosing Bliss, who is someone he actually loves on his own accord, unrelated to his mother. Which is why I think it's such a shame, because it's actually Zack's own unprocessed trauma and insecurities that lead him to make a poor choice in marriage, in this marriage. Even when arguably his perfect match is staring him in the face and is choosing him.
What concerned me is when you said that if I were to pick her, that would show the kind of judge of character I have.
You're right that you know her in a different way, and I see her in capacities you don't. You see her in capacities that I don't. I just see things that aren't good, honestly.
If you really believe in me, you got to know that, like, really, that I would not be in this position if I thought if Irina was actually a bad person. Like,
I'm not saying she's a bad person, babe. I'm not saying that.
I'm just trying to tell you everything that's going through my head.
I think that you are a better person than you think you are, and I am in awe of you.
Basically, Zack is feeling frustrated, firstly because he actually does love both women equally. And then after Cupcake Gate, Bliss had a moment where she got upset and said to Zack that if you choose Irina, then that tells me you're a poor judge of character. So there's 2 points to unpack here. Firstly, I think that Zack already has an inferiority complex, and he on some level thinks that Bliss may be a bit out of his league because he identifies still more as a stripper's son and that he's from a poor background. And she then confirms that insecurity or triggers that insecurity by throwing this blanket judgment of him that he's a poor judge of character. And in addition to that, she also judges Irina, who at this point he is subconsciously projecting his mother on. Incorrectly, of course. Irina is not his mother. In addition to that, I mentioned that personality type-wise, Bliss and Zack are shadows, and so they are actually quite in sync and in some ways have an underlying similar thread. So he intuitively knows that she is very level-headed like himself and that she could handle him even at his worst. So he somehow feels free to unleash his frustration and emotional upset onto Bliss, and then she kind of calmly knows how to tackle it and gets him through it. Versus Irina, who is very different from Zack, and he, again, intuitively knows that she would be way more upset, and he can't have that discussion with Irina because he can't handle her level of upset and emotion.
I can't walk into Bliss making fucking cupcakes for you. You know how hard that was yesterday? I know what I bring to the table. And I know what I feel with you. And if you're still unsure about that after 10 straight hours of dating with Bliss, I can't handle that.
And it's also because he doesn't sense that crazy, passionate, I will kill for you sort of love from Bliss, that he then chooses Irina instead.
Did you try to fight for? I mean, what am I gonna do? Because he knows exactly how I feel. But I'm not gonna sit there and be like, you're making the wrong decision. Like, I'm not gonna do that to him.
And the different levels of passion that Zack senses between Bliss and Irina is due to the different positions of their feeling function, and they both have Fi, introverted feeling. Whereas Irina's Fi is her top function, which means she would be way more expressive and emotional in terms of her expression and how she makes decisions. Bliss, on the other hand, has Fi as her lowest function, which I've said before is a very reluctant place. It means that even though depth of feeling within Bliss, probably at the same level of Irina, arguably, she is naturally reluctant to express it, to prioritize it. It's very counterintuitive. So sometimes, even when you are the one being rejected, someone doesn't choose you, it doesn't actually mean it's you that's not good enough. It could oddly mean it's because you are considered too good and you're triggering insecurities in the other person.
And I feel like you've kind of been trying to like fix this thing with me and Irina. And I just want to let you know that like I pulled her aside this morning and I talked to her and we just both agreed that like we just really want you to be happy. And I felt I needed to do that for like myself, also for you.
You are so amazing. You're brilliant. You're caring. You're...
Are you breaking up with me?
Yeah.
And relating to making bad choices because of your own insecurities, I feel that Irina has also made bad choices. And Not to say that she should stay with Zack or Zack is good for her, but more that how she instantly rejects him based on the physical and immediately jumps ship to Paul.
Paul is so attractive. I'm just sensing like, oh, like there is a type I have. And it just makes me realize what I don't have with Zack.
And it's easy to judge her for just being shallow, but I don't believe that she is shallow for just shallow's sake. I believe that her feelings for Zack in the pods were genuine, that she did feel a love for him, but that instantly went away because of the physical appearance, which then tells me that she herself is not really over her own body insecurities.
I think I'm a bombshell, but when I was younger, I had really, really bad acne, like really, really bad acne. And I was so insecure about it. And I would always be like, oh my gosh, like guys are not gonna wanna date me because I have really bad acne. It's always something I thought about. And the acne scars that I still have.
So much like season 2's Shake and his own internal self-racism, I think Irina still judges herself to be physically unattractive, and thus she subconsciously gets reassurance when someone she deems physically hot picks her, because it validates her as someone hot as well.
Like, where do I fall? Like, on the
Oh, and how you look?
Yeah.
I think you're really cute. I think you're exactly my type, yeah.
Really?
And much like Shake has chosen to be with white women to feel accepted and no longer rejected because of his race, that's a quick fix. That's the faster way for them to feel good about themselves rather than being honest and doing the hard work of sorting out their own emotional and mental issues. We know that Irina and Paul, it's purely a physical attraction. We've heard their conversations in Mexico, and there's nothing really that deep or interesting. They're just flirting. And in fact, Paul, funnily enough, is of the same personality type as Zack. And so Paul is literally just a better looking, less traumatized, more confident Zack. And look, Irina didn't bond with him in the pods when it's just conversation, probably because he can't relate to her trauma like Zack can. And at the moment, she's just fooling herself, thinking that she and Paul are having these amazing conversations because she's so busy looking at his face and feeling good about it, feeling good about herself, that she's fooled herself to think it's any deeper than that. Please remember to like and subscribe and support my channel. If you wanted me to help you figure out your personality type and analyze some of your life choices in relationship, career, etc., then please find booking details in the description box below.